Hello, everybody. I've had lots of questions lately on some of the jars and the process that I do. So I thought I would just make a quick video here and on how I do my jars. Today we're actually going to be doing a bank. This is a small jar. And so yeah, we'll get going on this. The first thing I do is I want to make sure that my glass is clean. So I always clean it with some alcohol here. I'll put a little bit on a little cotton wipe here. And you just want to rub this down around. Make sure that the whole thing is nice and clean so the paint adheres to it. And then we'll let that dry. And for all of my jars, I use this Rust-Oleum chalk paint in linen white. And I use this linen white because it blends the napkin really well, and with the napkin really well. I edge my napkins, and I'll show you that a little bit later when I get to putting the napkin on. And it blends so you can't tell where the napkin ends and the paint begins, and that's makes it a really nice finished look. So what I'm going to do is I actually pour my paint into this little plastic holder here. It has a lid. Typically this will last me 3 to 4 jars depending on the size. I do 2 coats on all of my jars. And so that way I don't contaminate the big gallon of paint in case I get something on my jar or whatnot. And it helps it so your big jar of paint doesn't dry out as fast. So I take just a sponge here, a sponge on a stick. Some people will use a brush, and that's fine as well. I prefer the sponge. I think it gives it a nice finished look in the end. So I just dab a little bit. I don't put a whole lot on there. And I kind of put my hand in here. And I'm going to move this out of the way here a little bit. And this is the method I use, so I make sure I get good coverage. As I kind of make this T, I go around here like this. And then I kind of work my way up. I have that heavier thing of paint in the middle, and I just kind of revitalize my sponge with that. Now this is a bank. Normally for my jars I would go all the way and I would paint the top, but because it is a bank I'm not going to be doing that. We're just going to go to this bottom rim here. So I'll paint up to that. And I want to just, when I finish the whole bank one time, I'll come back and do a fine finish on that one. So I'm going to put my jar down. I'm going to turn it a little bit here, add a little bit more paint to my sponge. Now this is the banks I'm actually going to paint the bottom of. Typically when I do my jars for my vases, I don't paint the bottoms. You can do whatever you want. I just choose not to. But when I have the banks and even my Kleenex holders, I always paint the bottoms. I think it gives it a nice finished look when it's done, and that's what I'm going for. So I'm just going to paint, kind of dab this up here. Go all the way up here to the rim of this. And I have the bank lids, which is really nice. And so I will, when the finished product, the bank lid will go up, will meet with this paint ends. And so I've been doing these jars now for about 1.5 years. I actually started painting these jars as a form of self-care. By trade, I am a psychotherapist, and so I practice therapy with people, teach them all kinds of healthy skills. And during the pandemic, I found out that my skills that I had used for self-care weren't enough for the stress that like a lot of frontline workers who have been experiencing. So I was introduced to this by my sister, who has a flower farm and wanted some vases. So I was like, well, I'll make you some for you. And after my first couple of jars, I absolutely fell in love with the process, and I've been doing it ever since. And it's been really kind of nice because I do these nice shows every once in a while. I don't do them often. I maybe do 8 or 9 a year, so not a lot. It's usually a Saturday, but it's nice to get out and meet people and have conversations with people. So that's kind of how I got started in this. So here, this jar, this is the first coat. Now, the first coat, you don't want it to be thick. It doesn't have to cover it all. You just want it to be a nice base coat. So we're going to let this dry for 24 hours. After this dries, Tomorrow I'll come back and I'll put another coat on and I'll let that dry for 24 hours and then we'll put the design on. So we're going to finish this up.